Hello and welcome, friends, to WeHeal with healers Eliana Miranda and Holly Wheeler. We have expansive conversations about healing our hearts, bodies, lineages, communities, and our beloved home planet. We are so happy to invite you into this space. Thanks for joining us. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the second episode of We Heal. You've joined Eliana Miranda and Holly Wheeler. We are two healers living in the Pacific Northwest of America that enjoy having really fun, witchy, weird, woo, and psychedelic conversations. We're so glad that you're here with us. Today, we're going to talk about something really fun, something that's been super potent for both Holly and I on our journeys as individuals, like in coming into our own and our soul blueprints and who we are, but also in our fields, like with our families and our clients and in all of the work that we're doing. It's showing up in just all of these different ways. And that is the human design system. And so we're going to get into the specifics of what that even is. If you've never heard of it, we're going to break it down for you, talk about some of the details. We're also going to talk to you about how we've been incorporating it and what it's been like to be living this experiment and doing this work and finding this important information out about ourselves, because it has been really vital and informative on the journey and come in at really specific and influential times, definitely for both of us. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Holly, and I'm wondering if you'll just take us on this journey of what the human design system is and where it came from.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love nothing better than to talk about this. I feel like it's all we talk about sometimes. We talk about a lot of stuff, but human design is, yeah, really like one of my newfound passions, I guess, just ever since we started living like the experiment of the human design. It's just been so many unlocks in my life that I didn't even realize were like blocked. So yes, I would love to tell you about what human design is. And Eliana, I think that you mentioned that it's like soul blueprint work. Human design is like a soul blueprint technology and a system that was channeled through by Ra Uru Hu in like the 80s, right? In like the
91, actually, or
1980s.
92. I
Oh,
think he had a
91.
mystical experience in 87 and
Yeah.
then he wrote the book
Yeah.
in 92. So yeah, you're right.
Okay.
In the
Yeah.
80s. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was like a long time ago, but it's really catching on now. And I guess it's kind of how things go. But it is a synthesis actually of Western astrology, Vedic astrology, and the I Ching. And all of these systems also, I'm actually not sure about Western astrology. I want to look that up later. But I know that Vedic astrology and the I Ching were both also channeled information, channeled codes and wisdom codes that were gifted to humanity through the Akash, through the living library that is all around us. And so Ra Uru Hu channeled through this beautiful synthesis of all three of these technologies. And I think it's such a beautiful kind of representation of where humanity is globally, how we're kind of starting to really like unite and bring together all of the wisdom codes from all different cultures, and especially the really big, like old, like ancient empires, where some of this stuff has come through. So yeah, so that's it's kind of like one aspect of what it is. I feel like it's so multifaceted, human design. But I want to also talk a little bit about kind of where this started. So Ra Uru Hu had this like encounter with what he calls the voice. And the voice told him that in 1781, the Earth was exposed to 3 times the amount of neutrinos. Neutrinos are these super tiny particles that come from our stars, that come from the solar system, that come from light. They are basically a star's exhalation, and they travel slower than the speed of light. So the theory is that they contain codes. They are heavier than the speed of light, even though they're small. We still haven't studied them uh, a lot, or we don't have like enough information to really know like what exactly they contain and to be able to define it because they're so small. But basically the idea is that these little neutrinos that are filtering down to Earth, to the planet, they travel through our bodies. They contain the codes of light, like the light codes, the star codes, um, that that kind of like affect us, and that's how I feel like so many people feel so resonant with astrology, because it really is affecting us. Like the lights that we're getting and the codes and the information from the stars really are touching us and affecting us, and we're receiving them and they're moving through us. And so I think that I love this whole system and how it acknowledges the neutrinos, and how, so he was given this information of how Ra'uhu, the voice said 1781, the Earth was exposed to 3 times the amount of neutrinos than it normally is exposed to for like 14 seconds. So just super blasted. And this was because he researched later, there was a supernova that happened. A star exploded and died. But the light, the neutrinos that it blasted out to the planet, the theory is that it took us, humanities, from being Homo sapiens to being Homo sapiens in transitus, is what he calls it. And so basically, that we used to be Homo sapiens with the 7 centered chakras, like the 7 chakra center system. And that is his kind of like theory, is that in that time period, 1781, that is when the transition began. And then he says that in the early 1800s, it was complete. And everybody on the planet was Homo sapien in transitus, with now 9 centers. And instead of the central channel going up and down, with the mind being the like lookout for authority, looking outward for authority, the mind being like the seat of our authority, and having to like look out and beyond, to us being a 9 centered being, which the flow then goes like, it still goes down here, but then it circulates down in the torso and the abdomen, and it doesn't just go straight up and down, but it's really more egg shaped. And so basically what that did is it took our authority from being here in the mind, and from having us have to look outward through the mind, through the lens of the mind, to perceive our authority from leaders, dictators, from God, from idols, like other, to now we have an inner authority system. And now we look within for our authority. We have the tools within us, within our own beings, to be able to make decisions and follow our authority. And that is not in the mind anymore. And I think that this is like a huge thing that I really love about human design, that's been such an unlock for me, is learning about my inner authority. And there's different types for each different person's authority, and where in your body that lies, and how that exists for you personally, for your own individual soul blueprint. And yeah, it's just really powerful stuff. One more little thing, and then we'll hit it back to you, Eliana. But one thing that he mentioned was that we used to be 7 centered beings, And our focus here on this planet Earth was to find communion through sexuality. And the purpose of that was for procreation up until we became Homo sapiens and transitus. And then now our purpose here on Earth is to find communion through awareness, which kind of took us into the age of information, which is just like such a mind-blowing I don't know, all this stuff just like really trips me out and blows my mind in the best ways. I just love it. I'm obsessed.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's just so fascinating to be attuned to a system that, like, it doesn't feel like it's that new, but it's really not that old. Like, it's one of the more recent channeled systems. And I think it's kind of cool to be a part of that, because it means that we get to be a part of the decoding of that system. So though I feel like so much work has been done in the human design world, it seems to me that because of this Age of Aquarius movement and this great awakening that's happening both, on the planet right now and just in general in our consciousness, that we are each also like these new channels of this system and becoming embodied practitioners and leaders of what it means to be living your design and to be doing this grand experiment together, both within ourselves and within community. So yeah, I love hearing about these facets, because like some of this stuff I didn't even know. I feel that on an intuitive level that we moved away from this time of using our sexual energy just to be with another, to get to use it and harness it in our own bodies and create worlds, right? Like create worlds within worlds within worlds, which, even if you just want to talk about that on a microcosmic level, like Instagram, right? There's so many corners of reality in that one world, right? There's so many worlds in that one world. So I'm so excited to continue on and talking about this system and breaking it down even more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have one more thing I want to add to that too. So there is one other aspect of this system that is a little bit different than the previous seven-centered system. Or maybe like I'm not exactly sure. I mean, this is so new to my life and also just in general, and the fact that Ra Uruhu is not around anymore. Like he died how long ago? I'm not sure. I feel like he passed on before it really caught on, because like right now human design is gaining in popularity so much.
And I think it was like around that time too, when it did start to kind of flux, which you kind of notice that, right? Like when the spirit of like the one channel passes over, like the channel expands now to like all of these people, like his vision we can all see now.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like I have so many questions I want to ask him. I'm like, no. But he kind of like left this all to us, and now it's like in the hands of the people in the channels who are still bringing more things through and still living the experiment and experimenting on a grand scale. So what I was going to talk about with this little segment is the introduction, I guess, of the magnetic monopole. And this was something that the voice brought in to him when he had this connection in the late 80s. And they just like started proving that later after the voice gave him this information, which was the existence of monopoles and magnetic monopoles, and how basically he was saying that the heart center is a magnetic monopole. And what that means is that our centers, our hearts, the very center of our being, and all living beings have this monopole. It is holding us together. Like it's holding all of this crazy star stuff, carbon, all of these like elements. It's holding us together, and it's also what attracts us to what we are meant to be attracted to. Like it's this beautiful magnet to our destiny, really, and it's so beautiful. I love how human design really talks about, for most of the types, in human design, they talk about that it's not really like you creating, like you're not really directing your life. You're allowing yourself to be magnetized to the experiences that you were made for, that the universe has in store for, that the universe can lead you to experiences more profound than you would ever imagine. And just that, and the monopoles also draw you to people, to your soulmates, to your friends, to other people who have like kind of like the opposite um energetic blueprint as you a lot of times, which is so crazy to look at like two different people's human design blueprints, because they really are like opposites, and that you can really see the magnetic monopole like pulling people together in a really cool way. So that's what I have to say about magnetic monopoles.
We're all just
Eliana, do you have
magnets
anything to
calling each
share?
other home.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Beautiful.
So beautiful. It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to tell you a little bit more about what that all means for us moving forward, how you can actually use the human design system to support your life, because all of this cosmic intelligent knowledge that Holly just dripped down to us is so amazing. And, you know, we love to talk about the spiritual and the metaphysical aspects. And you can also go and like look at your imprint through that lens by going onto there's a bunch of different sites out there. You know, you can find your chart on any single one of them. I like to use one called MyHumanDesign just because that author, Jenna Zoe, I think is her name, she puts your environment on there. And I really love the conversation about the environment. That's been an interesting aspect for me. So we're going to get into what the environment is, what the type is, what the profile line, the authority, all of these things that you'll find when you go and pull up your chart. And so all you're going to need to access this information is your birth information. So where, when, the city, the date, the time, and the state that you were born in. Hopefully you have that information. If not, I think there's other ways to figure this kind of thing out, though I'm not adept to it at all. But you'll pull up your chart and you'll get this like little almost human looking figure that comes the same for everybody. And it has these 9 shapes inside of it. And those shapes are the 9 centers that Holly was talking about before, which are the chakra system that was the once 7-centered being expanded into the 9-centered being. And in that system, there's also a bunch of channels that go back and forth between the big centers, and things that are colored in and things that are not colored in, and a bunch of numbers on the sides too. Although on MyHumanDesign, I don't know if it actually shows the red and the blue black numbers on the side. But the chart is very complex. It's like opening a door to what the universe encoded inside of you when you were born and getting to look at it, which has been really fun for me because I've studied the energy body and the chakra system for the last like 15 years. I'm sure, Holly, you can relate to that. And probably so many of our listeners are also people that were intrigued and interested in the chakra system. But this entire, astrological download is an energy imprint. It's the way the energy runs through the body. It's this personality type characteristic. It tells you where, as Holly said, your inner authority is inside of your body. And then it talks about your environment and the aura that you hold for others, and that others experience when they're in your aura. So we're going to break down a couple of these different things. And Holly, was there anything you wanted to add to that? Was there anything that I missed?
No, I love everything that you were saying. Yeah, I think that I would really love to hear you describe the different types of like the different energy types, really like the different aura types that there are, because I feel like that's kind of like the first thing that you learn about human design. It's kind of like that first intro. So you're so good at explaining it. So I really love to hear about it.
Cool. Thanks. I would love to talk about it. I love to talk about this
Yeah.
all the time. Holly and I started talking about this one day and we just never stopped talking about it. So the types. So there are 5 energy types, technically 4 in the human design system. There's the generators, and then the manifesting generators fall under the umbrella of the generators, but they have a little bit of their own creative characteristics to them. And then there's the manifestors, the reflectors, and the projectors. So we have these 5 different ways that the humans are currently running energy through their bodies on this planet at this time. And it's also how you kind of run energy, as Holly said, through your aura, which means that's how you interact with others and run energy between you and the other, between you and the other person. And so, yeah, we'll get a little bit, I guess I'll describe a little bit of each one. So the generators and manifesting generators, those are the ones that have this sacral energy inside of their bodies, which means they have this availability and access to energies that some of the other types may not have. The sacral is kind of this like buzzing sensation that responds to outside, not invitations, but outside kind of welcomings for the aura. And I guess probably you'll be better at describing the manifesting generator way of being, but they're basically, they work, they do things, they have the creative output, they have the energy to show up, give energy to a space. They have enough energy for an entire project until they're done with it, as long as they're excited about it. And then they can come to a completion with that. The projectors are the guides, the seers. They are the ones that are meant to kind of go into other people's energies, read their energies, help them identify their kind of their purpose and the space of the G center, which is like the identity of the person or their kind of core aspect in being, and see that part of themselves and help them to realize and see it about themselves, and then help, the generators and manifesting generators specifically, also manifestors, but the generators more so to direct their energy into currents that are more beneficial basically for humanity at this point in time. And then we have the manifestor. So those are the creation beings. They're the only ones that can manifest. They're the only ones that can create energy. And all they have to do is do that just by informing people. They can just walk around, just change the world at their will. But the manifestors are also non-energy beings. They don't have a sacral center, but the person that channeled this entire system was a manifestor. So that in itself, you can kind of see their power and their impact in the space that they can hold. And then the final type is reflectors. And reflectors, well, Holly and I don't know much about, but reflectors are a very rare type. And so those of, the reflectors that are out there can definitely speak more to themselves, I'm sure. And we would love to hear from you. But reflectors are completely open when they pull up their chart, all of those 9 centers that you'll see, some colored in, some open, depending on all of the other types. The reflectors are going to be the ones that are completely open. Their centers are all completely clear, and they cycle with the moon. They're actually the only type that has an external authority in the way that they cycle with the moon cycles, and they're meant to wait for the moon to authorize basically their intuitive decisions. So yeah, those are the 5 energy types. And I feel like, Holly, like you're coming from a manifesting generator perspective, so I would also love to hear your download on all of these different types as well.
Yeah, totally. I would really love to just speak to the auras of the different types and kind of just expand a little bit about on what you're saying. So like the generators in general, their auric field is receptive, like so receptive, so magnetic. They draw experiences to them like left and right. They're just busy like drawing stuff to them. They have a very open just receptive aura. And then the projectors have a very penetrative aura. Like their aura is like, it's just like a funnel like of energy, like just very directed into whatever they're looking at, whatever they're paying attention to. And then the manifestor's aura is actually repelling, and they're repelling. It's like they are pushing their aura, their magnetic, it's almost like they're like a positively charged, that's like their magnetic monopole is like positively charged or something. So they're just like pushing their energy outward and attracting more receptive, like all the other types you could say have like a negatively charged monopole and are very receptive and drawing experiences and things to them, but the manifester is pushing out. The manifester is manifesting their own reality and their own experiences. And then the reflector, oh, what would you say the reflector is, their aura is like? Is it just like open?
It's a great question, and probably something we should
Yeah,
look
we're
into.
so, yeah, I can probably look it up really quick, but we are so like generators are the most popular um type of the human population on the planet right now. And then it goes projectors, and then manifestors, and then reflectors. And manifestors and reflectors are both super rare.
Mhm.
But reflectors are even more rare. I want to say they're like the like 1% or something of the human population right now. So I'm looking at this really fantastic book I wanted to mention anyways. It's called, it's gonna be backwards on here, but it's called The Definitive Book of Human Design. And it's by Linda Bunnell and Ra Uru. So this is
Mhm.
like the OG book.
Very cool.
um, yeah, so
Yeah,
let me
and
see if
while
I can
Holly's looking that up,
find it.
I'll
Yeah.
just say to anyone that's listening that we're both students of this systems. Neither of us have ever received any sort of formal training in this. We are speaking from our own just intuitive study and practice and interrelational experience. So, if anything that we say, ever isn't correct, sometimes, when we speak, when I speak, at least I won't speak for Holly. I'm just channeling, and sometimes it's bullshit, and I would love to get called out on it if it's not, in divine alignment with what Ra Uru Hu was speaking to. However, I do love to kind of give my own perspective, and I think Holly, you like to interpret your perspective of this system as well. So just know, anyone that's listening, that um, we're coming at you like from our study and experience, but also our real lived learning of it and expression of it through us.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I feel like we're both pretty new on this path, although we have been, I guess, I don't know how long you've been like, living this experiment, because that's what it really is, when you start like really taking on these concepts from the human design system and living in alignment with your blueprint. It really is like a life experiment, and we've just seen like the most incredible shifts in our life. And we're just really excited about this experiment. It's been going really well. So we're learning a lot. We're taking notes, and we are really just feeling so inspired to share this with you because we've had such incredible results. And I will get back to you guys. I just found the reflector aura, and it's like I'll show you the picture of it in Ra's book. It's a this is the auric field, which it's called a sampling aura. And so I'm not like super sure what that is, but do you have any
Actually, I
perspectives on that sampling aura?
think that what they do is that they pick up the auras of whose ever space they're in, because they're
Yeah,
so
yeah,
open
yeah.
that whatever environment they're standing in or exchanging energy
Hmm.
with, they'll be in that auric field. They'll present as that while they're in that space. And then
Yeah.
it's up to them to kind of clear other energies out of their space to be in their
Hmm.
natural attunement, which is like this, just like the moon, like it can change and it can cycle and it's never really the same.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think that you're right there with that. That's beautiful because they really do the reflectors reflect like in the group. And I would love to chat with you, Eliana, about the group dynamic between all of these types and how they interact with each other. And the reflector really is like the group reflector. Like you can tell like how a reflector is behaving is really a reflection of the group energy of the group that they're with, the people that they're surrounded by, the world that they're living in, their work environments, they are like the representation of that energy embodied. So
Yeah. Yeah. And so like all of these different types, they we can categorize them and say, like, I'm over here with the projectors and Holly's over there with the manifesting generators. And you might think that would mean that we're separate and like super different. But actually, there's something else on your chart called your personality line. And that excuse me, that aspect is something that kind of bonds two people and groups, and the ways that you kind of move your energy out into the field and the ways that others can kind of receive that energy as well. But two projectors can be projectors together, but we might be totally different personalities. Holly and I have the same personality line, so we really can connect in this kind of intuitive, we're 2 4s, 2 4 way. So the personality lines are 2 numbers, and one of them is your kind of conscious attributes and one is your unconscious attributes. And there's a lot of kind of mixes of these numbers that I think there's 7 total. That might be wrong. There's 7 authorities, but I'm not exactly sure how many numbers. 6?
I'm not sure either. I'd have to look that up, but there's several.
Yeah, and
I think like 6 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, combinations of these numbers. And so like I attract a lot of 2 4s, right? Holly and I just did an energy attunement program this summer, and it ended up being a group of 2 4s. So you might be more attracted almost to somebody with your same personality line, or at least kind of find people in your life that attune to your personality line even more than they attune to your energy type. You actually might struggle more with your own energy type and feel more comfortable actually with like owning your personality line and that aspect of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like a great example of this that I just told you about, Eliana, was the fact that my husband is a manifester and he has a really good friend who's a projector, and they're both 5 1s. And I just found that out, and I thought it was so funny because you're a really good friend of mine, Eliana, and you're a projector, and we both share that 2 4 personality line. And it's just so funny that like, yeah, my husband and I both have like a counterpart, a projector counterpart in our lives that is the same personality line. And it's funny. We were drawn together, our magnetic monopoles drew us together in a beautiful way. And here we are doing this podcast together. And it's so fun to work when you kind of know each other's types, to be able to like really step into your role, like the role of your type, and work with your energy in a way that's really in alignment for you. Like with Eliana, I feel like you really give us a lot of focus. Like projector has that like focused aura and focused energy field. And you provide a lot of insight and a lot of things that I wouldn't really see or notice. And I'm, as a manifesting generator, I just kind of like get really excited about things, and I have lots of energy to complete things and new inspiration that's coming in. Manifesting generators are very multitaskers. We like to have a lot of projects that we like to work on at the same time. Whereas generators, I feel like, are more focused, and they really can follow through with one project and stay focused and grinding on it, like as long as they're passionate about it. Manny gens are spread a little bit more thin, and we tend to just like, oh, I'm super interested in this right now, and then boop, it's gone. We don't need to finish it. Like, it's fine. Like, if you're a manifesting generator, you don't need to finish everything you start. Just saying. When I heard that, I was like, yes, I feel that. That's so freeing, because then I can tap in to all of the things that I'm interested, because there's so much that I am being magnetized to, and I love it.
So. Yeah. That's what's so fun about the manifesting generator energy. My husband is also a manifesting generator, so I am in the space with one on a very regular basis, whether here or there. And y'all are just so creative. You have these like passionate artistic outputs and the energy to do them all and to hold space for them, and to juggle these really like multidimensional aspects of yourself, and do so in a way that once you're kind of attuned to it and owning it and following your inner authority and recognizing that about yourself, and not, as you said, feeling pressure to finish something, or to shame yourself if you don't finish something, or to be hard on yourself, when you find those not self frustration themes, you have this way of just flowing from creative output to creative output, and creating these portals is like really how I experience them. They're kind of portals and space holdings for other people to like exit the matrix, especially like you two magic makers, you kind of hold these spaces that allow others to be in this like circulatory movement of a creative flow that's different than theirs, and that feels really exciting, and like from a projector standpoint, like pulls me out of my comfort zone and shows me new possibilities and new ways of life, and like how to make things happen. Holly kind of has taken a lot of things that have been living in my journal and made them realities around me, and as a projector, like, you really need a team. You need other energy beings to support you and your vision, and to see you and invite you to opportunities that, you may have been wondering why they have not manifested yet, but it's because like you're waiting for the right person. Like, human design really emphasizes and encourages us to work with people and to use a system to like be in better relationship with one another. And so, yeah, that's it. The 2-4 is also like just so fun for the two of us, because we really understand that we like to be in our own spaces, and we like to have, invitations or responses from people that we're deeply familiar with, and that we can feel safe with, like that, channel to the community connection. And so yeah, I have a feeling there'll be other 2-4s that end up in this audience, and that like just find themselves in this space.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love everything that you were saying, Eliana. And I want to add to that also that that like this world, this workforce that we live in, especially in the US, like it was made for generators, for the generator type, for the either the generator or the mani-gen. They're both generators. Um, that like, like 9 to 5 schedule, 5 days a week, go to work, grind, 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 crush, 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 go home, sleep, and do it all over again. Like, projectors and manifestors are not made for that. I don't know about reflectors. I feel like reflectors, if as long as they're near like a a generator, they could probably do it. But we really do want to extend an invitation to reflectors to get in touch with us and tell us if you're experimenting with human design. Like, reach out. We want to hear from you and learn more about your type. I don't know. We don't know any reflectors, so we don't have anybody to study. And we would love to study you if you are a reflector. So we open that invitation for you. But so yeah, so projectors and manifestors, their energy doesn't work in the same way. They don't have that battery pack that they can just sleep and recharge and boom, that's it. They're ready to go the next day. Like, so it can be kind of difficult, I feel like, for projectors and manifestors to find a place where they fit in the money making area of, and I think that this is something that is becoming really a huge useful tool for people in work settings and collaborative settings, to be able to be like, okay, projector, like, let's utilize your natural energy so that you can give us a broad overview of like kind of your focused energy and things that the generators might be missing, because the generators are busy generating, and we need somebody to stand outside and be like, hey, 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 guys, you're going the wrong way. You got to go, you got to turn, just go that way. There's a big thing over there. Like, you can't see it because you all are just going and going and going, but I can see it. It's right over there. Like, you got to switch gears and move around it. Like, projectors work like that. And manifestors too. Like, manifestors have a different energy. They are the ones who started the company. They're the ones who have the idea, and then but they can't do it alone. They can't manifest alone. They have these beautiful, amazing ideas, and they have the energy to bring it into the world. And then it's like, then they need to have a team of generators, of people with the sacral centers, and a projector too, to be able to like make it happen and bring their idea into physical reality. So I just love that this system really kind of centers on community and like team building, and we could really utilize this beautiful system, this soul blueprint system, to be able to have each person really living in alignment with their energy and utilizing their energy in a way that's not going to cause burnout, that's not going against their natural energy, but is empowering them, is restoring them, and is just going with the flow, the natural flow of their life energy. Who doesn't want that, right?
We all looking for that to just be like continuously filled up, especially the non-sacral
Exactly.
beings. Like, it would
Yeah.
be nice if there was just a continual flow of energy, and we can find that, right? Like we all have access to
Mm-hmm.
that. We just find it in different ways. And you know, the reflectors, like they are, I want to say, probably one of the most sensitive because they're so open. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they are always just reflecting other people's auras. So I do wonder too if you know, them and themselves can hear us talking and say, you guys have no idea, even, you know, us reflectors over here just being in everyone's aura all the time. I'm pretty open. My center is
Yeah.
pretty open, but having them all, you know, I can't imagine just always being so receptive. Um, yeah, and one of the things you pointed to is like finding that way to replenish the energy. And we wanted to just point out and talk just briefly about the authorities. And so when you pull up your chart and you're looking at your chart, you know, you'll see your type, you'll see your profile line, and you're also going to see your authority. At least I think on this website, you'll see your authority. They're the
Yeah, I think
same.
so.
Okay. They're the same for all of the types. I mean, each type will have the same authority, I should say that, except for, actually, that's not true. The projector, it's totally not true. The projector has 7. It's like the most like multifaceted one of authorities because the projector can have 7 different types of authorities. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's all these different ways, and it's basically like the different centers are places where your intuition is meant to come from, and they all have kind of their own energetic archetypal experience to them. And so I guess I'll just maybe go over all of them real quick. I'm not going to probably speak too deeply into any of them, but just call them each out, and maybe you can help me with this, Holly, in case I miss any of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the emotional authority, which Holly is,
Mm-hmm.
authority, which I am. Then there's mental projectors. There's actually environmental and mental projectors might go hand in hand. There's any that you have off the top of your head that I'm missing? I made a note.
That I know that there's sacral and solar plexus authority. So, and they're all a little bit different. So I really would recommend that you study your own type and get really familiar with your own type. The book again that Ruhu authored is it has beautiful descriptions of all of these authorities. And this was the thing that really impacted my life the most because I have an emotional solar plexus authority. And so, with my authority, with the emotional authority, which I think many, many people are, I think this is one of the more common emotional authorities. The key there is time, which is so infuriating if you're a manifesting generator. But time, like give yourself space and time for clarity to come through for you, because with the emotional authority, we are riding an emotional wave, and our decision making process is deeply affected by our current emotional state. So when we get an invitation, when we get something to respond to, we need to wait for clarity. With other types, it's instant. They just know. It's like, oh yeah, oh I don't want to do that. And I used to think that I had that type. I used to think that that was what intuition was. It's the first thing that pops into your head. Always do the first thing that pops into your head, and that's like so wrong for the emotional authority. And I would find myself like overcommitted to things that I wanted to do when I got invited to them, but I didn't, I rode the wave and my excitement changed or dwindled, and then I didn't feel like doing it anymore. And I feel like um this this tool of like practicing making decisions utilizing your inner authority blueprint and process was just, it seriously is totally life changing. Like to wait for clarity and before you make a decision and be like, I know this is the right thing, instead of just being like, oh, that was the first thing. Oh, I'm going to do that. I'll just do that. I'm just going to do that. Like with every action that you take, it's just like, it's so empowering to just be able to be like, no, I need a second. I'm going to sleep on it. I need to think about it for a little bit. Let me get back to you. And just really feel into it and ride the wave, ride that emotional wave and come to clarity. That's just like such an unlock. And so when you know how to use your authority, it might be different for you. You might have, it's that first thing, I think, is that splenic authority where it's just like the first, it's deep. And if you can talk yourself out of it, like if you keep thinking about it, like I feel like with that type, you can kind of talk yourself into a different
Yeah, it's
idea
like
or solution.
it hits quick, and if you don't catch it, it's gone immediately, and like the energy might not be there for it after that, like if you don't make those maneuvers instantly with a splenic authority, it could immediately be gone, and that's when the mind wants to start getting involved. And then if the mind is making decisions from there, right, that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to, especially with the splenic authority, it's like a body, like the body is the way, the body is your teacher, the body is the guide, and the body knows immediately. Whereas like
Right.
the lunar, cycles, like they're waiting for a whole moon cycle. They're waiting to go through like the
Mhm.
whole flow of like basically a month, they're waiting for the full expansion and contraction. Like mental, like there's mental projectors, they're meant to talk and have like sounding boards with people around them
Mm.
in order not to get feedback, but to just hear themselves, which I think is really powerful.
Mhm.
Like that they're just meant to hear their own voice, experience something before they make any sort of decisions. And the sacral is like literally a sound comes up through your body, and they're meant to like
Yeah.
tune into this like inner voice that like just makes a noise, and that voice is their yes or their no. Um, so it's
And
like,
it's very guttural. The sacral chakra or the sacral authority is so, it's just like, uh-huh, or like, and it's so funny. My daughter has this authority. And so anytime I'm like, do you want this? She's like, huh? And I'm like, did you say yes or no? And she's like, huh? Uh-huh. Like it's just like the sound that comes out of her. And I'm like, I just want to like nurture that and stuff. But it's funny to like notice that kind of thing with like different people in your life that what their type is or how their energy flows or whatever. It's so cool.
totally. And so cool to see it with her too, because she's not conditioned yet, and you both are doing such a
Yeah,
powerful
yeah.
parenting job trying not to condition her and let her just be her
Right.
beautiful, magical self. So it will be interesting to see her be such an organic teacher of that for both of us as she grows up,
Yeah.
of like, yeah, here's my sound. I'm like, it's
Hmm.
shut down and it makes my decisions for
Yeah.
me.
And I think that a lot of children like are trained out of that. Children with sacral authorities, like I like people that my age with sacral authorities aren't really connected to that because they've been trained to say yes or no. And it's like it doesn't like your answers don't come like that. So just let them out. And then if they need clarification, you can be like, that was my yes. Like,
Yeah.
but just let it flow. And I think that this experiment of human design is so beautiful because it honors each person and their own like unique blueprints and their own energetic um like ways of being and how it just honors our individuality in just such a beautiful way. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I think it's just going to be such an incredible experiment moving forward, as we get to just apply it and unravel it and see it more and more. Um, the last aspect I think we wanted to touch on is the environment in the chart. And so I'm just going
Yeah.
to call that out quickly because it's I
Mhm.
think really interesting, especially for healers and practitioners, which I'm assuming that is who is here listening right now. Um, to understand your environment, because though you can understand your energy type and your personality and all these things, your environment is kind of this not just an aura that people get to come into, but a like a spatial design. And of course, that's probably not how they would teach it, but that's totally how I've experienced it, and how I encourage anyone I, do any sort of healing trainings with to attune to their environment and like really feel into that for the space that they're creating when they're offering healings to another, or when anyone's coming into their space for any reason at all. Because the environment is this place in the environment, in the human world. And it kind of gives us this like archetypal image of different times throughout history and how different humans have kind of worked and lived in their different places, the different positions that they've held throughout time. And it's kind of this field that we hold in our aura of, I like to almost think of it as like most of where our reincarnations have been, this kind of like this coming together of the soul lineage and the prophecy of what the human work has been done while here on planet Earth. So there's five different environments. There's the mountain, the cave, shores, kitchens, and markets, right? I'm not missing any, am I?
I don't think so. I think you got them all.
Cool. And each of those also has two different sides to them. So we're not going to get into those specifics either, but they do express themselves each individually and uniquely. The two environments, I think all we're going to talk about today is our own environments, just for the sake of time. But Holly, did you want to share a little bit about your cave environment?
Yeah, sure. So my environment is caves, and I feel so aligned with that. I'm also we mentioned 2-4 profile, which is like hermetic. It's like the hermetic investigator, I think is what it's called. But so that really like kind of goes along with the cave energy. And just like I can be such a hermit sometimes. I like to know like where people are coming into my space from and people are going out. Like I feel much safer in a space that's more cave-like, just with being able to have something behind me and not having people like sneak up behind me or surprises or things like that. Like I just feel so safe and supported and cozy and like in cave environments. And I think that that's where I really do a lot of like restoration, and that's where I get a lot of inspiration and ideas and support. And I think that these environments are places where they're just nourishing for our soul. And so I've tried to kind of incorporate that into my life, just to be able to have some more like cave time. Like that's like my restoration time. It's like just time alone in my house, in my space, my cave, And it's funny, it's actually perfect because my husband and my daughter are both shores people. They're slightly different shores, but shores, and they like it's like a merging of two places. They're two different energies coming together. So they like to like go out to these spaces together where there's like different energies meeting these shorelines. And so it's lovely because they can go out together and get their medicine in their shoreline environments, and I'll stay home at the cave and be getting mine. It's beautiful how it flows.
Yeah.
And can you tell us more about that, or what's coming in for you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, it's funny, when you start learning about this stuff, you're like, oh, I already knew this. Like, I already felt that, but it just like gives it a language. And I think that's what's really fun is like all of this used to just be an energetic experience, and this system gave it a way to translate that, into something like real that we can use to communicate these energetic experiences with. Because Holly, like before we ever even knew that she was a caves, we were going into her space and doing these like creative incubative projects where we always knew who was going, right? There was like a set number of us working on a certain creative experience at one time. We knew what time we were going to be there. We knew when we were all leaving. And these are very cave environment things. Like for the caves, it's good for, as Holly was saying, y'all to know. And for people that are in your environment to also know that nobody else is going to come in randomly. Like people will feel safer in your environment because of the fact, or I should say people will be drawn to your environment that are looking for those types of auras or spaces or environments, experiences that emit that kind of cave-like quality where there's one entrance and they know who's coming in and out of it, and they're coming in to sit around a fire and to conjure some sort of magic and to do this experience, and then to like leave the cave and go back, if they're not cave people, go back into the world and do their thing. I'm a mountain, so I like in some ways like relate to the cave more than I could possibly explain. I've always called myself like a cave person, because I like sit in my bed all day and I just don't like to leave my home. But I'm actually a mountain environment, and in especially one of these archetypal decks that I work with, the Kim Cranswell, the known archetype deck, the mountain is like all about like the miner's magic, and the picture of the mountain is a man or not a man, a person standing in the center of the mountain inside of a cave. And it's like, yeah, the mountain is this like epic adventure and you're transcending and going over, but if you're missing like the going into the mountain and the story of the mountain and like the magic of what's inside of the mountain, then like you're missing the whole picture. So for mountain environments, I've totally tapped into this. I've like restructured my website to like honor and welcome people as they show up, to be like, I know you climbed this mountain. I know it's hard to find me. I know it's hard to get to me. Like I make it that way, like I live on this mountain, and I really do want to show people this perspective and give people like a heightened sense of what's happening. And also I'm up here in the mountain doing the work at all times. And if you're not really coming up here to do that kind of work with me, like, why are you here? Right. There's like plenty of other places you could go. So the people that are coming to mountains, so healers, if you're a mountain environment, like think of it like, excuse me, someone's traveling up the mountain to come and receive some medicine that they couldn't receive at the markets in town, that they couldn't receive by just going to the shores and gazing in the ocean, that they couldn't receive by going into a kitchen, right? Here's another environment, going into a kitchen and mixing things up and like working with community and creating something together. They can't find their medicine that way. So they're going to come up this mountain because this medicine person on the mountain has this particular brand of alchemy that they can serve them. So it's this exchange of like a big presence. And I've always had a mountain figure in my life before I ever learned that mountains was my environment. Like the mountain has been a guiding light and a clear message that I'm supposed to take people to the other side of the mountain. So to find that out, then that like mountain was my environment was just this kind of like, body shaking chills all around. Like I feel that, like it's inside of me. I feel that presence of the mountain and that archetypal story of the mountain and how to hold that space for others. So I'm really excited about environments. I get like really jazzed. I'm always like, Holly, let's decorate your cave. Like, let's put up, let's really like curate these spaces, because people feel it when they're in the space with you. And it's fun to get to play. That's the projector stuff. Like I love to play with the unseen realms and like understand how to make it more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love everything you're saying about that. And like your excitement about that. And I love that you embrace that so much, like your mountain energy, that you like wove it into your business and into your website and into your like realm and your life. And I just love that, like I think that that's really how we can get creative with how we weave this human design experiment into our lives. And it's so fun to play with, and it's so effective. And I so feel that with you, Eliana, that you are such a mountain person. Your energy, like I feel like when we start talking, I'm like, whoa, I do feel like I'm on this mountain with you, and we're just like having these deep conversations and beautiful things coming through that couldn't just happen like at the market or wherever, like you need to come up to a place that's higher, more secluded, and was a journey to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the spirit journey or the yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's I guess we're kind of coming to the end of our time here. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on, Eliana?
I was thinking it would just be fun to share where we were at in our lives when human design showed up, because I do think that human design comes into people's lives when they've kind of clicked into a timeline where they've been doing some work maybe to get there, or they've been calling and praying and kind of asking for their alignment or their soul's purpose or their soul's guidance to show up. So I was just wondering if maybe you wanted to give just like a little bit more juice into when you learned about human design, how it kind of like clicked more of your own energy into place, and just really like a final maybe message to everybody of how they can take this system and use it in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think that human design was something that kind of just like trickled into my life. Like, I think that you were the one to tell me about it, actually, Eliana, for the first time. I had thought that I had heard about it before, but there's so many different systems out there. It was a different one. But this one, I plugged it in on the MyHumanDesign website, plugged my birthday and everything, got my chart, and it was kind of like, wow, okay, this is a whole this is a whole thing. It was like a little bit overwhelming, but actually the MyHumanDesign, they have like a little app, and I downloaded the app, and I was able to get like a bunch of really succinct kind of information on each of the different aspects of my blueprint. And that was really cool. I thought that it was so awesome. I thought that I really connected at first with my manifesting generator energy. I think that's kind of like what most people connect with at first, is just that they're kind of like auric field energy. And that was really impactful. Just learning that little piece, like I shared earlier, that like it's okay for you to explore all the different things. Like manifesting generators are being drawn to a lot of different things. We have a lot of interest. We get excited about a lot of stuff. And I feel like I kind of always thought that, oh, this next thing I'm studying, this is what I want to do. Oh, now this next thing I'm doing and really passionate about, this is what I wanted. This is what I should be doing with my life. And it's like, no, like I'm just gonna keep learning all of it and keep weaving it and the new things into my practice and keep evolving and keep growing, and then tossing out the old things that I'm not passionate about anymore. I think that the first thing that I learned from human design that was so impactful was just to follow your excitement as a manifesting generator and as a generator. Like, follow your excitement and wait to respond. That's the other like key. And they have a each different type, each different type has a different strategy. And so like the strategy for generators and many gens is um to respond, to wait to respond, right? Yeah. So that was a whole new thing too, because I think that I was working with my energy in a way where I was like, I have to do this now. I am going to do this. I am planning things and coming from here, where instead we're supposed to really come from here and allow ourselves to be magnetized to things or not. That's the other thing. Like, you don't always have to say yes to what you're responding to, but you wait for the thing to respond to, instead of being like, oh, I have to, like, this is the most empowering thing. Like, oh, I have to do all this stuff. I have to go do the dishes and the laundry, mother here. Gotta do all the mom stuff. Like, I just need a minute. And instead of like just forcing my getting up and being angry and doing the dishes and just being frustrated and working through, instead just taking a minute and just taking that minute and being like, I need a minute. Oh, okay. I need to respond to that and take a minute. And then it's like, and then my energy comes back. I'm like, oh, okay. I need to do the dishes now. And then it's like, and then I can respond to that. And just learning how to work with my energy has been so impactful. That was like the first step. And then, and then it just catapulted from there as you get deeper and deeper into the system and just learn about your blueprint and the system more. Yeah, there's a lot to learn, and it really, that was like the moment where I was like, I'm into this. This is exciting. This is working. That's the thing. Yeah. What about you, Eliana? Tell us about your journey with it.
Yeah, it's so nice to like learn something and then just see, as you said, how it works in your life, right? Like, it's not just a thing you study and you get a degree for, and then it sits on your wall and you never get a job doing it or whatever, right? It's like you learn this thing and it like changes your life and you feel it and experience it and it awakens something inside of you. And I definitely had that experience, but it was a slow moving one. Like you said, um, when I got the system sent to me, I was like, this has a lot of information and I don't have the language for any of this. So I had to really learn the language. And then I found out I was a projector, and that's what we're here to do, is like learn all these things and study and read and research. And I do feel like the human design system showed up in my life when I had a full-on call from God of, you're about to jump into a new timeline and you better like get yourself to the person you wanted to be when you go there. And there was a big restructuring of the fields, and it was, kind of, it led to my partner and I getting married, but it was, it had come in a year before. I moved my entire life around. I quit my 9-to-5 job. I dedicated to this path of healer, all of these things. We had this marriage. We left and went into nature for a couple of months and totally unplugged. And I rewired my energy in a way that one night I'll remember it for the rest of my life. The views that we were looking at, the campfire we were sitting at, that a projector sent me a message and was like, and she's one of my best friends from childhood, saying like, you got to check this out. You're going to love this. And then like, she sent me this like free guidebook it came with. And for like the rest of the trip, like I was just reading through this guidebook and learning about this interesting new system. And, whenever I could find Wi-Fi to get more information. So, yeah, for those that are new on the path, or even for, if we have people here that are wise beyond their years on this path and have been doing this way longer than us. I know that so many people have been doing this work since the 90s. And I'm so fascinated and grateful that they've really paved the way for us to even be here and to be talking about this information. But I'm just so enamored kind of by the story of human design and how it walks into people's lives. And here we are, like, as you said, having a podcast, and we're talking about this now. And right before I came here, I just like sold out my first projector focus group, and like this whole projector process and building this projector community has been one of the most, I won't say validating, because I'm not looking to be validated by an external authority, but a confirmation that this experiment that I'm doing and this following my inner authority and trusting my wise old projector crone ways, that that's leading somewhere. And that like, it's, as a projector, it can be really hard to wait for the invitation and to feel like, where is it going? When is it coming? And why am I sitting here making all this magic and nobody sees me for it? I'm so unseen, right? Like you and I talk about it all the time. I'm just like this black void that is unseen by all, dark void. And it can be really exciting when you start to realize that like your energy is just such a special, precious resource, but the universe has set itself up so that you don't experience your success until you are in right alignment with what you need to be in the frequency to hold the space for it. So yeah, it's like human design, I love, and I'm also like spirit, God, source energy, like sends human design when we really need to find language to something that we didn't have language for because it was energetic, or it was personality, or it was this, or it was that. So yeah, this conversation has got me super juiced up. Thank you, Holly, for having it with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, your musings just made me think, like, yeah, I feel like this human design came into my life in such a perfect time because I was really experiencing a lot of deep frustrations. And that's like the sign of being out of alignment for generators and many gens. And it was a huge block in my life, and it was blocking me from happiness. It was blocking me from enjoying time with my family, just being frustrated at dumb daily stuff, just always. And so this is like, it came into my life because I was like, I needed it. And I was like consciously becoming aware of like how much frustration I was experiencing all the time. And then this really beautiful system came in and was like, hey, this is your sign where you're like not following your energy. And so yeah, it's beautiful that it does come into your life like when you need it in a beautiful way. And we hope that this podcast is an invitation to you, or something for you to respond to, or something for you to inspire you and get you excited about this beautiful system that has really helped us. Helped us evolve and helped us grow and learn and change. And yeah.
Yeah. And be more ourselves. Like I feel
Yeah.
coming here tonight, I was like, oh, I wanted to take a shower and to do this and to get my energy in a better place. But the message was just like, no, part of the human design experiment is to just like be in your design. And like, I'm a projector that rests all day, like I'm not going to always show up being shiny and pretty and like on until, I have the golden invitation to do so. But it's like, okay to also just be in your authenticity. And that's the mystery, is like, I think that's why we're so excited and enticed, is because it's tuning us into our authenticity and just like being more attuned to who we just naturally have always felt like we've been since we were little kids, but that society conditioned us to feel like was wrong or wasn't, just the natural part of our flow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's so validating. Like it's been so validating for me. And I know for a lot of my friends who are really getting excited about human design, it's so validating. It's like, yes, this is the way that you are, and it's okay. Like, go with it. How can you work with how you are instead of trying to fit yourself into this system that is asking you to be this certain way that you actually aren't?
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Yes. Awesome.
Cool. Well, yeah, thank you so much for opening this conversation, Eliana. I just want to touch in on our invitation that we're also extending to reflectors. I know I mentioned this earlier, but I just want to like reiterate that if you are a reflector and you are getting into human design and you're living the experiment, like we really do want to hear from you. So reach out, comment, find us on Instagram. Like we would love to hear from you and hear some perspectives on your human design. We just don't know a lot about you. We're excited to learn more.
Yeah, we would love to hear from anybody that listens to this podcast. If you got
Yeah.
something out of it, or if you had a question or you had a comment. I know commenting through the portals of podcasts can be challenging, but we're both on Instagram, Holly at the P Switch, and I, Eliana, am at wellness_weaver. And at least I know that's the best place to get that feedback. We'll check the other things, but that's the most direct way to see what we're doing and what we're offering and what new creations are in the cauldron.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much to our listeners for coming on this journey with us as we discuss our most favorite, juicy, exciting topic, human design. Um, and we look forward to doing this again very soon.
Should we share a little download of the cards we pulled?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we should do that.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. You go, and then I'll go.
Okay. I did a little spread before the podcast as just that's how timing worked out. But it was funny because I did pull the cave card, which I thought was important to kind of weave in because Holly's holding the field of the cave for us. And I also, as a mountain, will hold that field kind of in my center, in my heart, which is something we've really been talking about here is this heart field, this magnetic monopole, that's calling us together and getting us out of the mental and really into the field of the heart chakra. And then the unseen and the mystic wanted to come forward and just encourage us to keep working with the unseen energies. I feel like I got to call out projectors here, like projectors, if you're feeling unseen, know that there is community space where we're trying to see each other. And also that's part of the journey and part of the magic is being able to be unseen and bring and weave in the messages and guidance from that land. And then the mystic, Holly and I are both just soaking in and surrendering to this mystic journey, to the mysteries. And the one message that really did come through with the mystic was just that through our words and our conversations and our communications and the way that we take our human experiences and translate them into our own intuitive poetry, our own intuitive story and archetypal myth, that we're truly creating medicine here. Like this conversation, this field, like that was Holly and I's intention, was to hold a field for healing and for medicine and for an environment that is filled with nourishing and refilling qualities and conversations that can support, you know, anyone that comes in to join us and to sit on the mountainside and sit in like the internal caves of fires and sip tea with us. So yeah, I feel like that message was just like telling us all to really stick together and to keep doing this really delicious, sweet, nourishing, honest work.
Yes, it's so beautiful and so potent. And I love it that the card that I drew from the Alchemy deck, it's the alchemical wedding. And I just love the imagery on it. It's like it's so like this is Eliana and then this is me.
Oh my
It's like the black and the white on the right side too, even on the screen. It's so
God.
fantastic. If you can't see it, half the card is black and Eliana is wearing all black, and then half the card is white, and I am in white today. And it's just the alchemical wedding, like this beautiful union, this sticking together, you know, like you were talking about. Um, and also just like the magic that comes when things unite, when the magnetic monopole draws things together. Oh, and it even looks like a little magnetic monopole like down there, just the two things like whoosh, like drawing together. So beautiful. Yeah.
Wise serpents like coming to weave it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, the serpent weavers. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Oh, and they really are like wrapping around each
Mhm.
other and like, oh, that is magic.
Yeah. Beautiful. I feel like that's a real good sign for us and this podcast moving forward, that we've almost, you know, created a commitment and like contract with each other to bring
Mm.
these conversations through and to share these messages and to make sure that we're advocating and giving a voice to the spiritual realm too. I think that's really important, that we're actively drawing in intuitive messages from spirit and giving a voice to the plant, animal, you know, angelic, whimsical, witchy allies that we use on a daily basis, you know, that have supported us in our lives. Like this is our opportunity to give them a platform and to give them space to speak. So we always honor and call out all of the support that we worked with here in these sessions, and the ritualistic aspect of it in the show notes or in the end of the video. So if you ever want to tune into our allies, like please check that out and see what we are really working with kind of behind the scenes in the unseen realms over here.
Exactly. Okay. Well, thank you again, listeners, friends, for joining us on this journey of human design. I think we're ready to wrap up, right? Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much. And remember to tune in next week for more magical musings here on WeHeal.